Yo guys, welcome back to the channel. With me again to talk about your footage is Will Harden. Welcome back, buddy.
Thanks, Jeff.
Hey, we have more footage submitted here. This is Matt Flood submitting footage from the Cat 4-5 Brinkerhoff road race. So this is like a 40 to 50 mile road race. And if the name sounds familiar, that's because I have covered this race before. It's been 4 years, if you can believe it. That is an old video, and the first thing that Will was like, he was like, dude, you sounded different back in that old video. But that was an exciting one. Had a crazy, spectacular crash at the finish. I'll link it in the description or do something so you guys can find it. But that's not what we're talking about today. This is from 2023, so this is newer. And like I said, yeah, Matt Flood submitted this footage. Shout out to the Pursuit Racing team, which is who Matt races for, and you can find his socials and their Instagram and stuff like that in the description below. But unfortunately, Matt did not have teammates in this race, and that's going to make his life kind of challenging here in the final of this race. They were just going downhill, Will. What does that mean? On a closed course, if you go downhill, you eventually have to go back uphill, and holy smokes, the watts. Look at the power.
Yeah, this course is actually pretty cool. Like, it narrowed down there, and Matt's having to push megawatts. I think he's like 180, 185 pounds, and going up against these smaller guys, he's got his work cut out for him without any teammates.
Yeah, and good for him for like hanging with these little watt per kg climber boys, because spoiler, Matt can make 1600 watts on a good day, according to his notes. So he is definitely looking out for the sprint finish. If you have that sort of power, like, no duh, you just hang in. Your strategy is just like, please get me to the finish, and then I will dust my competition. That is the way I would be racing if I had that sort of ability, and that is the way that Matt is racing. So that's his mindset coming into this, and without any teammates, he's got to look out for these guys with the pink bands on their legs right here in front of him. Keep an eye out for them, because they're going to play a pivotal role. This is the CBRC race team, and yeah, this is kind of a stair-steppy little climb they're doing here. This is the final lap, so we're inside of 10 kilometers to go. He's survived this far. And I'll tell you something, Will. These early season, like springtime races, at least here in California, it looks the same out here in upstate New York. They are brutal, man. Like, there isn't normally like a big selection. It is just like kind of you're on it all day. Is that the vibe you got from this race?
Yeah, this race, and we've got the same thing going on in North Carolina. Like, they're usually real windy, lots of gusts, could be some rain. Looks cold. It's April, but like the sun hasn't quite come out yet in New York here. Yeah,
for sure. And you can see these riders now kind of looking back, taking stock of what happened after that first little bump, and doing another effort. And keep in mind the wind direction too, those blue arrows in the bottom right hand corner. Not only is it a climb that's kind of stair-steppy, but also it's a tailwind, which is especially brutal. That means, when the speed lowers, drafting's not quite as important. When you're going uphill, the drafting's not quite as important, and especially if there's a tailwind. So that's particularly brutal, and Matt's hanging in there. Like, I talked about what I would do if I was Matt, which is just hang on for dear life. And now let's talk about it from the other perspective. Here you have some of these riders who don't have 1600 watts. I would argue most Cat 4-5s don't have 1600 watt burst of power at the end of a race. What should they be doing, Will? Trying to drop the 1600 watt guy, right?
I mean, even if I was in this race, I wouldn't want to take Matt to the line. Like, I can't do 1600 watts on most good days. So I'm going to make this as hard as possible on guys who can. And hopefully they're real worn out by the end, or they're not even there. That would be my approach.
Yeah, and it looks like they're trying here, but they gave him a rest. And as a sprinter myself, we have this ability to recover and do short, hard efforts. So these stair-steppy climbs, it's oftentimes pretty hard to get rid of us, because we can go above threshold, we can rest for a little bit, and then go above threshold again and kind of rinse and repeat. It takes a more sustained effort to drop the fast twitch sprinty boys like me and like Matt here. So he's able to hang on, and man, 185 beats per minute though, like not an easy task. But now the speed has ramped back up. Now we're up at 26 miles an hour, 27 miles an hour, which means, like I said before, the drafting is now much more consequential, and he can sit in, and the efforts on the front aren't as taxing on our boy Matt. And he's just been sitting in the draft doing an excellent job as a sprinter. My only critique here would be he's got to be mindful of the wind. It doesn't really seem like, it's not incredibly significant. I think he called out like a 7-mile-an-hour wind. But, hey, bike races are won and lost by percentage points. And, I would be on the left-hand side here getting maximum amount of draft. Especially once the speed picks up here, and you'd find yourself not having to do these little bursts of 400 watts like he's doing. Guys with the pink legs, let's talk more about them. I think, now correct me if I'm wrong here, Will, they're the only 2 guys up in this lead group. By the way, we've made this selection of 7 at this point, right?
Yeah, he's on the right side. They're all on the right side of the selection here. Races like this, where it's pretty hard the whole time, they do this, especially in the 4.5s. Like, you'll just have, I think here there's 7 dudes in this front little group. So they're going to keep that pressure on, and now almost everyone in this group is going to be motivated to keep pushing those pedals. I think Matt is doing a great job of just kind of sitting far enough back that nobody notices him, but really is on this CBRC team to look back, see he's there, and make him do some effort. Like, make him close those gaps, something like that, in order to get his max power down at the end here, because there's no way most people are going to be able to keep up with him if you bring him into that last corner.
Right. And just looks so Cat 5, Cat 4-5 to me. Like, they're all over the road. It looks like everyone's just kind of seeing cross-eyed at this point. And the guys with the pink bands, the CBRC riders, aren't really racing as teammates. Like, I'll tell you what I would do. If I made this selection with a teammate, I was the only guy in this breakaway with a teammate, I would get to the left-hand side of the road, the guttered side of the road, and I would start drilling it. And I would leave only enough space, because center line is in effect. You can't cross the double yellow line. I would leave only enough space for my teammate to benefit from that draft, which means if I'm up there smashing away at like 400, 450 watts, my teammate is benefiting from my draft doing much less, a sustainable maybe 300, 350 watts, while everybody else behind is doing the same exact thing that I have to do. So you're putting yourself in this position where you're using your numbers to your advantage, and they're just not doing that. See, they're not slammed on the left-hand side of the road, and as a result, Matt is benefiting from this, right? Matt is the one who's like, needs to be dropped. You have to hurt the sprinty boy who can beat you in the final 200 meters. And I just wish that CBRC was doing a better job of that, because they've made the selection here, but they're just not quite able to hurt him, and that's going to mean a lot in the final couple hundred meters of this race. I think we should fast forward a little bit, because things kind of settle down in this group of 7. So let's see how the final plays out. All right, Will. Final 2.3 kilometers. The race is going to be over in just a matter of minutes here. And I think at this point, CBRC is like, ruh-roh. Matt's still here. That guy who has tree trunks for legs, and he's going to beat us in the sprint. So this last little ramp before the finish, you see him on the left with the pink bands on his legs, gets to the front, smashes. And if you guys listened, there was a crash that happened behind. It wasn't captured on the GoPro, but one of the other competitors, the guy who won this race last time, just overlapped and went down. So one less rider in this front group to contest the sprint finish. And at this point, it just seemed too late for CBRC to drop Matt. Did I get that right?
Yeah, they came over that little hill. They probably should have done everything they could on that hill, and now it's just going to kind of trend down. It's not going to be any significant features that they can get rid of him, and the wind doesn't look like it's quite enough to push him right now either. And he's on the right side, the left side rather, so hidden from the wind, which is great on him, and he's just going to keep shuffling in those top 3 wheels and not hitting the front, not taking any extra wind. Matt's playing it well, and CBRC probably should have done a little bit more before this, but that's part of Cat 4-5 racing, is just learning how to take advantage of your competitors' weaknesses and make sure their strengths aren't present at the end.
Wow, well said. I mean, they had a good 8 kilometers to gutter him in the crosswinds on the left-hand side of the road. But like you said, this is Cat 4-5 is when you figure this stuff out. And I made hundreds of mistakes before I got this sport figured out. So, whoa! And now we have inside of 1 kilometer to go. We have a solo flyer who's probably thinking the same thing that CBRC riders are thinking. Why is Matt still here? I don't want to go toe to toe with him in the sprint. So he sends it, and And Matt's just going to be on the now Matt's discovered the left-hand side and that that benefit of being sheltered from that crosswind, and he's almost essentially getting led out by these CBRC guys at this point. Like, this couldn't be any better for him, and like, he's crowding the left-hand side. His position is perfect here. I've not seen this yet. So this is exactly where I would want to be, and yeah, maybe even letting a couple more riders. This isn't a bad thing. I would maybe let a couple more riders fill in, because you don't want to be second wheel with 600 meters to go. That's still quite a long distance. Now, keep in mind, there's one more CBRC rider behind him. Man, he's doing such a good job staying on the sheltered side of the road here.
Yep.
They're going to make this final turn, 250 meters to go. And now he's just out in the wind. Now he's just looking at the finish line. I think he's just going to send it from this point. Yeah, it's a long sprint, but it's mostly a tailwind sprint. So again, I really like this. And look, guys, this is the reason you don't bring a sprinter to the finish. He's just going to do his thing. And man, this is a long one though. This must have been a 15, 20-second sprint. But he had the energy because he played it so well. Takes down the W. It looked like, we don't have a rear camera, but I'm willing to bet, Will, that he had bike lengths on the competition. He even overtook that car at the finish. So good on him. Look at them thighs, man. Jolly Green Giant standing on the top step. Congratulations, Matt. Thank you for submitting your footage. Don't forget, guys, if you have footage you'd like to submit, Will and I are going to be doing this all year long. So take a look at the link we left in the description. It takes just a couple minutes of your time. Will, as always, great having you on, buddy.
Thanks, Jeff. See ya.